While offense is important to weaken and defeat the monsters that are causing problems throughout the land, defense is equally important so you can return home to your family and not end up as a hunter Happy Meal. Which is why the shield is the biggest part of this weapon, the greatest defensive option a hunter can have, the lance. As previously stated, the lance is accompanied by the largest shield of any weapon the hunters have in their arsenals. Meanwhile, the lance part of the weapon offers great range and reach and is incredibly straightforward. You just poke the monster over and over. You can poke normal height, you can poke high, charge with the weapon and repeatedly poke the monster, and you can block and counter poke, which is pretty strong. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty much about the shield, really. But that shield can protect you from almost anything.
Woo! Thanks for heating things up, Fatalis. I should have brought some marshmallows.
So that is the lance, a relatively straightforward weapon that may be lacking in the offensive department, but no weapon has a better chance of letting you walk away from the hunt unharmed. However, we aren't quite done with the lance yet, as there is a variation of the weapon that many people find quite explosive. So the lance is an incredible defensive tool, but the trade-off for that weapon is offense. It's gonna take quite a lot in order to bring down a 60-plus foot monster by poking it. Thankfully, we worked on the design a bit and came up with an upgraded version of the weapon, the gun lance. While still having the same thrusting power as its cousin, the gun lance is also capable of slashing the enemy and even doing some slam attacks. But the main new point of the gun lance is, of course, the gun. This weapon is able to store and fire special explosive shells, up to 5 at a time. They still have to be used at melee range, but they can do some great damage to the monster. And a recent modification allowed hunters to combine the ammo in their slinger to a large spike that can be fired from the weapon to create the worm stake. A powerful stake that is launched and stabbed into the monster, which will then unleash small explosions when hit with more shells, causing extra damage to the monsters that bypasses their armor. And there is a chamber filled with highly explosive material that, after some time to charge up, can unleash a devastating explosion known as Wyvern's Fire for massive damage, but must recharge afterwards. And that is all you need to know about the gun lance, an upgraded version to put the offense back into a very defensive weapon with extra explosive power that allows you to even bypass a monster's armor for extra damage. But I often find myself rubbing shoulders with people that carry enough weapons to arm a small battalion, and I myself am known for bringing a small arsenal into battle. And while most hunters sadly cannot do the same, they've compensated by making weapons that take the form of multiple different weapons, like the next entry on our list. Power, speed, range. Many weapons sadly have to trade one or more of these to excel in one of the other areas, and it is rather taxing for a person to carry multiple different weapons and adjust accordingly based on the situation. Thankfully, one of the few things the ancient civilization did right was develop mecha shift weaponry capable of transforming into different weapons, the first of which being the switch axe. As previously stated, the switch axe is a weapon capable of switching between two weapons, hence the name. The two weapons are an axe, as you may have guessed, and a sword, neither of which can be used to block. The axe utilized more for powerful attacks with great reach, as well as better mobility, while the sword mode is faster and can utilize the files built into the weapon, where the weapon's elemental properties are filtered into the file and can be released out into the blade for explosive finishers. And with repeated attacks on the monster, the files can be amped up to deliver a devastating elemental discharge. charge, creating a greatly damaging explosion and, as you may have guessed, do massive amounts of elemental damage. And that is the Switch Axe, a versatile weapon that can change to fit the situation and can deal devastating elemental damage in punishing explosive bursts. Now, you may remember the sword and shield, but have you ever stopped to consider the possibility of what would happen if you combine your sword and shield? Well, the next weapon answers that very question. As said before, the sword and shield is a very capable weapon that has advantages in many areas. But what if you combined the two long-standing partners into an axe for greater range and power? The result you would get from this is the Charge Blade. Okay, now this is one tricky weapon, so keep that in mind. So this main mode of the weapon is sword and shield form. Attacking with the sword charges files within the weapon, hence the name. However, after a certain point, your files will overload and your sword will bounce off the monster. At this point, you should charge the files into your shield to power it up and improve your defensive capabilities, at which point you can charge more files. Once these fill up again, you combine the sword and shield into the axe form of the weapon, offering you greater power, which drains your files. And in this state, though it drains much more of your files, you can unleash a devastating and explosive elemental discharge with the super amped elemental discharge. So that is the Charge Blade, a very technical weapon that is difficult to master, but once you are capable to do so, it becomes one of the most advanced damage-dealing machines in a hunter's arsenal. Now, as we all know, many monsters are capable of flying, which keeps them out of range of hunters' attacks. But what if I were to tell you there was a weapon that gave hunters aerial capabilities and evened the playing field? It's a simple fact. Humans can't fly. So this puts us human hunters at a disadvantage against the monsters that can fly. Thankfully, one thing humans can do is find a way to overcome our disadvantages. And so we harnessed our ingenuity in order to create a weapon that allowed us to take to the skies ourselves to knock down the monsters that evaded our reach, the Insect Glaive. This weapon is rather simple, yet quite effective. A staff that perfectly balances speed and power, although still lacks the ability to block attacks. It makes up for it with incredible mobility, allowing you to easily jump or roll out of the way of an attack. And then, using the staff to pole vault into the air, either to kick off the air or spiral through the air to put them in a more favorable position, or score some aerial attacks on flying monsters. Or hit hard to reach spots such as the monster's back, wings, and tail. And after landing successful attacks, the force of said attack will launch the hunter back into the air to land another strike. The aerial attacks aren't as strong as land-based ones, but they still pack a doozy. And by repeatedly attacking, spiraling through the air and launching themselves higher, hunters can easily evade attacks and stay in the air to avoid any hazards below.
Oh yeah! Screw your Sanshar Ishvalda, can't touch me from up here! Not from the top ropes, baby!
Now, you may be wondering where the insect portion of the Insect Glaive comes from. Well, you might be happy to know that this weapon comes with a partner. Yup, that is a bug as big as my forearm. Now that may be off-putting, but trust me, this Kinsect can and will be your best friend. By firing a specialized ball of pheromones into a monster, it signals the Kinsect to attack the monster and will attack repeatedly unless called back. And after it takes a bite out of the monster, it extracts some fluid from it, which upon returning to its hunter, it will release as a cloud of pheromones that, upon inhalation, empowers the hunter. Red pheromones increases power, white increases speed, and orange increases defense, with green restoring some health. These Kinsects can also be nurtured to grow into more powerful versions of themselves, with the final version being powerful enough to take down low-ranking monsters on their own.
The Bruiser and your new best buddy all in one!
So that is the Insect Glaive, a weapon of unparalleled aerial ability that comes with a partner that can both fight with you and empower you to lessen the ordeal. But with all these impressive melee weapons, there's the unavoidable fact that some of us simply aren't built for close-range combat. Maybe you're intimidated to get close to giant, spiky, scaly monsters that could fold most humans like tissue paper. There's nothing wrong with that, especially since we have weapons that can easily hit a monster from long range. Like, you'd think melee weapons would have died out after that. Let's face it, it's dangerous to hunt monsters. They're bigger than us, stronger than us, and faster than us. It does not take much effort on their part to kill us. Pretty much one bite is enough to make one less person on the planet. So getting very close to one is generally a poor decision for your health. Armor helps, but it doesn't change the fact you're gonna get hurt. 9 out of 10 hunters believe that the most dangerous place to be near a monster is near a monster, and that 10th hunter was eaten. So it may be a better idea to stay at a safe distance while you fight a monster. And to do that, you'll need a projectile weapon, like the bow guns. And if you want to be quick on your feet while you shoot, your best option is the light bow gun. As the name implies, the light bowgun is a weapon that looks like a crossbow, shoots more like a gun, and is very light, allowing for more maneuverability at the cost of, you guessed it, not being able to block. But that's what the gun is for in the first place. You shouldn't be close enough to need to block. The bowgun fires small shells made from many different nuts and berries found throughout the New World at high speeds and over long distances, allowing you to hit the monster from safer distances. And the light bowgun in particular excels at rapid fire to quickly lay down damage on the target. And different shots have different advantages, such as piercing ammo penetrating the monster's armor, spread ammo to burst open and hit the monster in several places like a shotgun, slicing ammo to weaken and sever a monster's parts, sticky ammo to attach to a monster and explode, status and elemental ammo for what you might have guessed, trank ammo to capture a monster, and even demon and armor ammo to boost the attack and defense of your teammates. For once, it's actually beneficial to shoot your friend in the face. And keep in mind, different ammo has different ranges. And as an extra bonus, the light bowgun also comes equipped with powerful mines known as Wyvern Blast, which can be laid down with 3 at a time and explode either by a hunter shooting it or a monster accidentally hitting it, with more powerful attacks creating bigger explosions and more damage. Don't ask me how that works. But unfortunately, while it does lay down damage quickly, it does not do very much damage, as many of the more powerful ammo options are restricted to the big brother of this weapon, the heavy bowgun. Still, if you want to be quick on your feet while keeping your distance from the monsters, this is probably your best option. Your next option would be trading that speed and mobility for a lot more power. So the light bowgun is great for doing small amounts of damage very quickly. But the simple fact is, it is pretty lacking when it comes to immediate stopping power. And a lot of options for stronger ammo simply are not compatible with this smaller weapon. If you want the big bullets and the big power to lay the big hurt on the monster at a distance, your only option is the heavy bowgun. So as previously stated, the heavy bowgun fires higher caliber ammo the lighter bowgun can't handle, as well as getting access to newer varieties, such as Cluster, which fires out large bombs that split into smaller ones before detonating from multiple explosions, and more damage. And whereas the light bowgun has one type of special ammo in the form of Wyvern Blast, the heavy bowgun has 2 special ammo types, Wyvern Heart and Wyvern Snipe. Don't get too excited, you can only get one or the other, not both. Still, they're both pretty good, with Wyvern Heart being a devastating onslaught of automatic fire, while Wyvern Snipe is a powerful piercing shot that will soon explode for heavy damage. Keep in mind with Wyvern Snipe, you have to lay down on the ground to deal with the recoil, which leaves you vulnerable. Also, the weapon can be modified with a shield, so you can guard against attacks. So that is the heavy bowgun, trading speed and mobility for power and a wider array of ammo with more damaging options if you don't mind being weighted down a bit. But one issue that steers many away from the bowguns is how technical all the ammo types can be. Not to mention, you have to go out and make some of these ammos not sold in by merchants, so many people want a simpler yet equally effective option. Luckily, we have just that. The bowguns are certainly versatile and effective at long range. However, that versatility comes from their ammo types. But not all ammo types are sold in stores, requiring the taxing process of a hunter farming for materials to make the ammo, only for it eventually to run out. Thankfully, there is a much simpler option when you take away the gun and are left with the bow. An elegant weapon from a more civilized age, the bow and arrow matches simplicity with effectiveness. You just shoot some big sharp sticks into a monster. However, many hunters take this a step further and often fire up to 3 arrows at once for heavier damage. In addition, the hunters have also started packing specialized arrows that come equipped with a balloon and a basket, which can be fired into the air, activating the balloon and opening the basket to rain dozens of spiky metal balls down onto a monster for heavy damage and solid knockout potential. And to provide a bit of extra oomph, arrow tips can be dipped in a special coating, which can all be bought in stores to give them special effects. All bows can utilize close range and power coating, which up the arrows at close range and the general power. There are also status coatings in the form of blast, poison, paralysis, and sleep. But some of these are only compatible with certain bows. This is another weapon that unfortunately can't block, and the range is much more limited compared to the bow guns, but its light frame does allow for good mobility and makes it easier to draw and fire again after a quick dodge. And there is one more type of arrow guaranteed to do some serious damage, even without coating. By adding blast powder to an arrow designed to drill through the thickest monster shell, hunters now have access to the mighty Dragon Piercer, which tears its way through a monster with devastating efficiency. And that is the bow. A simple weapon, yet its effectiveness cannot be denied, especially when used to its fullest capacity with the coatings, the balloon and basket of spiked balls, and the Dragon Piercer. There's a reason many archers wind up as legends. So now, with all the weapons explained, it's time to quickly mention a hunter's proper target when hunting in a party. This isn't necessarily a rule or official etiquette, it's just a good idea for maximum efficiency and to limit accidental attacks on teammates. Hammer users with the previously mentioned stun proficiency should target the head to knock down the monsters. Longsword users are best deployed at the tail to quickly sever it without risk of knocking down their teammates. Insect glaive users with their aerial capabilities should attempt to strike the back of the monster. All other melee weapon users should focus the body and legs of the target, weakening it and making it difficult for the monsters to get back up. And finally, ranged weapon users should focus on the wings and other parts other weapons have a hard time hitting. But again, these are just suggestions. Just try not to hit where your partners are and you're good. So, there you have it. The various weapons hunters have at their disposal. There really is something for everyone, and proof that anyone can stand up and fight even the fiercest monsters if they have a decent armor and the weapon that suits them perfectly. If you learn your weapon inside and out, there is almost no foe that cannot be defeated.
Well, there you have it, everyone. That is my take on the weapons of Monster Hunter. I am so sorry this ran on way longer than I ever intended it to. It was actually a lot longer, but I had to cut out some original jokes for the script because it was already insanely long to begin with. Honestly, this was way more work than I ever intended it to be, but still, it was quite a fun, if rather trying experience. Next time, things will be a lot simpler, because we're going to be going back to the monsters, and it's going to be one of my personal favorites from Iceborne, Namiel. So hopefully you guys will be looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to making it. It's going to be a lot, simpler and more straightforward than this one certainly was, but still, did you enjoy this one? Let me know what you guys thought, and what are your thoughts on seeing Namiel's lore in the future, and what other monsters you might like to see after Namiel. But for now, thank you all so much for watching. If you like this, want to see more, go ahead and slash that subscribe button. If you like this video, give a quick cut to the like button, leave a comment down below, share it around with all your friends, and be sure to follow me on Twitter and Facebook. And be sure to click the notification bell so you never miss it when I upload a video. Then I'll see you in the next one. But until then, my people, stay sharp.